Right, it's time to put some of our skills to the test. Let's draw a simple shape which we're going to use as the basis for our sellotape dispenser. We're going to use all of the tools that we've used before: straight lines, circles, shapes, grid lock, step lock, attach, construction points, and we may even fill and put some text on later as well. The first thing we're going to do is check that step lock is highlighted and that attach is not. First thing I want to do is I want to draw myself a rectangle which is 120 by 60. And again, if you're not very accurate with the mouse, the arrow keys are very easy to use and you can always press enter to set that shape. It's worth taking a little bit of time. 120 by 60, and click when you're happy with that. That's your basic shape. I'm going to move that to the top. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place some construction points along that shape. First thing I'm going to do is click on my construction point and I'm going to go across to the third one, which is at a given distance. Now I want to have a construction point at 50, and what I'm going to do, as in the previous exercise, I'm going to click there, click at the top line on the right hand side, do exactly the same at the bottom. So I've now got 4 construction points, 50 in from each side. Back over to construction points, double click. This time I want to change it back to 30. And I'm going to click this time on the right hand side near the top and then on the left hand side near the top. So I've now got construction points on the top and bottom lines and construction points on the right and left. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to connect those points up by clicking on my lines. I'm going to click off step lock and click on my attach, and I'm going to join those lines up there as we have already done. And you should be left with a shape like this. We're now going to go back to construction points, and this time I want a construction point at 18, and I want to click on the right hand side of the top line, and that should give me a construction point there, 18 millimeters in from the right. Back to my construction point, double click, and this time I want one 3 millimeters. Right hand side of the line, click there, and we should have a construction line there. Now if you want, you can put one on there as well, and that will allow you to draw a line across there. So we should have a series of lines and construction points now that we've drawn exactly to the dimensions that we want. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add in construction points at intersections by clicking on construction points and going across to the second button. I'm going to draw construction point there, construction point there. Now it might be worth adding at this point that it would be easier to handle if we zoom in. Now there are 2 ways to zoom in. You can zoom in by using this button here, and that will allow you to zoom in and out. Or you could go down to your Draw Edit toolbar and click on Zoom In and just drag an imaginary box over, and you've got that there. Right, so we want a couple of circles. So I'm going to click on my circle icon. I'm going to hold my mouse down and I'm going to go across to the second button across so that I can draw a circle with a given centre and radius. First circle I want is going to have a radius of 3 or a diameter of 6. And notice, because I've got my attach button on, again I've got that little box. I'm going to attach that there. I'm going to go back to my icon, double click, and this time I want a circle with a radius of 4. And this circle I'm going to attach here. Now that I have most of the set lines in, I'm going to begin to draft in my shape. I'm going to click on my line, and then I'm going to go across to my attach button. Notice my grid lock and my step lock are both de-highlighted. If I double click on my attach, at the moment it will only attach at the end point or a node. If I click on the nearest point, that will allow me to click on a line, for example here. Again, my attach is on, and go down and click on the nearest point on that circle. Now we may need to alter that in a little while. I'm going to go up to here, click on there, and again similarly down to here. What I need to do now is draw a line from there to there. Now we should have all the points and lines necessary to begin the construction of our sellotape dispenser. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drag, once I've clicked on pointer, an imaginary box over that shape. I'm going to go up to the top of the page and click on group, and I'm going to click on the copy and paste function, which are the two boxes at the bottom. Copy and paste that just in case I make a mistake. If I click on the middle button there, that will allow me to position that somewhere off in free space, available later should I need it. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove some lines that we don't need. I'm going to click on Del and make sure I go across to the second button, which is deleting part of an object, and I'm going to get rid of the lines that I don't need. The first ones are these guidelines here. The second ones are the less obvious ones. Don't worry about leaving construction points there. You can always remove those lines there because they're not needed. I might leave those in because we might use them later. Okay, now it's worth checking at this point whether these lines that you drew at a tangent to that circle are accurate. And again, go back to In, drag an imaginary box over, and you can see in this case they seem to be okay. But what I might do, click on pointer, click on the line, start edit, and I might just double check that those lines are exactly where I need them, and you can zoom in further if you wish. Sometimes they just slightly miss the mark. When you're happy with that, end edit, go back to Del, and you can delete that part of the circle. Notice here we have a part of that line. You need to remove that because that will cause you problems later. If you go back to your zoom in and hold your button down and go to last, that will give you your last zoom. Okay, what we've done now is get the inner shape for the sellotape dispenser with that curve there. We're just missing one more line here, which I'm going to go back to construction points, make sure I have my construction point at an intersection, and then from there I'm going to do the last line and delete the last few lines that I don't need. Again, don't worry about the shapes too much at this point, and the construction points can be left. It's worth noting here that at this point you can, if you see any, remove any stray lines that you might still have. For example, there's one there as well. That should cause you less problems later on. And that is your basic shape for your sellotape dispenser, which we will later edit to produce the shape that we want. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it or drag an imaginary box around it after clicking on pointer. I'm going to copy and paste that, and then I'm going to move that up into free space. Another advantage of using copy and paste and keeping a record of what you've done is it shows your progression as well. You can later put those onto your page and print those out to show how you've progressed, and it gives you a reminder as to the sizes and shapes that you started with, as well as having the last shape that you needed should you go wrong.